Today, we're going to time travel. We're going to go 10 years into the future to 2036 and check in on the stone industry and see what's happening in 10 years. Now, before we hop in our time machine, I'd like to ask just take a quick second, subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it, really helps me out. So, thank you. And now, without further ado, let's hop in our time machine and travel to 2036 and see what we find there. We are going to see a completely different economic order in 2036 than we see today for a couple reasons. First, there's some pretty credible forecasters that are calling for a depression starting around 2030. And by their estimation, by 2036, we should be out of it or starting the climb out of it anyway. So that's going to be a lot different than the economic environment we're playing in today. Also, we are going to see, we're already seeing the greatest transfer of wealth in human history from baby boomers to their heirs. And by 2036, that's going to be not totally complete, but largely complete. So there's going to be a new group of buyers making decisions. There's going to be a new group of decision makers at companies as current management ages out and new leaders take their place. So that's going to be one of the big changes is the economics. We're going to see an older demographic in the developed world. We're going to see more retirees and fewer people of working age. Now, those retirees are going to continue to spend money, but it's going to be harder and harder and harder to find employees. And if you're hiring people in 2026, you already know it's plenty hard. So I think those are some of the economic factors that are going to kind of color the stone industry and other industries as well. Now, specific to stone, I think there are some market trends that are already underway, but that will look very different in 2036 than they do today. And the two things that come to mind for me are number one, the reconsidering of college. I think we're seeing a lot of people, as the price of college continues to climb, I think we're seeing a lot of people reconsider if college is the right decision for them. If that happens in big enough numbers, then universities are not going to need to keep building buildings and enrollment's not going to keep going up. So I know that for the dimensional stone guys, colleges and universities are a tremendously important market. That may be less so the case in 2036. Now, on the monument side, I think we're seeing a trend where younger people are moving away from a traditional burial and more are considering things like cremation as a solution for their remains. So that's going to look different than older generations who had the headstone. Could be some kind of different monument, could be something altogether different. The good news, though, is the Lindy effect, which basically says the longer something's been a thing, the longer it's going to continue to be a thing. That would lead me to believe that we're going to continue building with stone because humans have been building with stone for thousands of years. Now, the things we build might change, but we'll still use stone in one way, shape, or form. And as I mentioned earlier, we will have a new generation of buyers who are making those purchasing decisions, and they're going to have new things that they want that are interesting to them, that are important to them, that previous generations maybe didn't share. So we'll still sell stone. It's going to look different. I don't know how. Whoever figures that out is going to make a lot of money. Within the stone industry, I think we're also going to see a turnover in terms of who owns stone businesses. And I think that's going to come in three primary groups. First, I think we're going to see continued consolidation, private equity roll up, however you want to call that, where businesses are coming together to make larger businesses. We're going to continue to see that in the stone business. It makes sense. It's good business practice. Rather than having three separate back offices, you've got one back office. So your fixed costs are consolidated. There is also a growing interest in entrepreneurship through acquisition. And if you watch my videos, you've heard me talk about ETA a handful of times. I think it's a really interesting space. But basically, the idea is as baby boomers are retiring and maybe looking to sell their business, there's a huge opportunity for people who are younger and maybe coming out of business school or coming out of getting their master's in business administration and are interested in running a business that's already running. Not going to Silicon Valley to be the next great tech entrepreneur, but buying something on Main Street, buying a laundromat, buying a car wash, buying a stone mill, buying a countertop shop, things like that. So I think we're going to see some of the entrepreneurship through or acquisition through entrepreneurship, or excuse me, entrepreneurship through acquisition folks moving into the stone industry. And that's exciting for a couple reasons. They're going to have new ideas. They're going to have new ways of looking at things. They are not going to know a thing about the stone. So there's some pretty obvious downsides there and some learning curve for people going that route to figure out. And the third group, I think about almost like the entrepreneurship through acquisition group in reverse, and that's the next generation. So, of family ownership. So, the stone industry is a funny one in that family businesses can persist for many, many generations. At WF Myers, we're fifth generation. That is really rare in the wider world, but I sell to customers who are fifth generation, sixth generation, seventh generation, and have been quarrying for years. So, in many cases, just because of the demographic changes over a decade, you're going to see a changing of the guard in some of these family businesses. And the people running those are maybe going to be a little bit different than the private equity folks and the entrepreneurship folks in that they know their stone and they know their business. They maybe don't have an MBA, they maybe don't have a pile of cash, but they know the market. And so that's its own trade-off. But I think we're going to see those three groups really kind of come into their own in terms of business ownership and management over the next decade. I also think we're going to see a different geopolitical world order than we have seen since the fall of the Soviet Union. After the Soviet Union fell, the United States was the one dominant superpower on the world stage. And I think over the next 10 years, I think we're already maybe starting to see it a little bit, but I think over the next 10 years, it's going to accelerate, and we are going to move to a world that is, I would call, multipolar, with the United States and Western Europe and our allies and people who think like us, do business like us, have a common value set. That's going to be one pole. And then I think you're going to have maybe Russia and China and some other countries that, again, have that different value set forming another center of gravity on the world stage. So rather than one global superpower, I think we'll get back to a world where we've got two. And I think that will make things a little bit different as far as international trade goes. We may see less American manufacturing in China. We may see it move back to America, which would be great. We may see it move to countries we have friendly relationships with, but lower costs of employment. Places like Mexico, Central America, but out of China and out of China's sphere of influence and closer to home. You knew this was coming. Artificial intelligence. We're going to see more of it in 2036, I believe. I think we're going to see agents, digital agents that are accessible and easy for people running, sort of mainstream non-tech businesses, people like you, people like me, easier, more user-friendly agents that conduct business activities for us without our involvement. I think there's some folks in the tech sphere who are already pushing that pretty hard. I just think it's going to be mainstream in 10 years. And I think about AI now like the internet maybe a quarter century ago, where, yeah, it's kind of a fun, novel tool now, but eventually it's going to be necessary for survival. And the internet has certainly turned into that in the last 25 years. If you don't have a web presence, how are people going to find you? Um, and I think AI is going to be just so ingrained in businesses that are successful in 2036. I think we're going to see increased automation because labor prices are going to be so high. Labor prices are going to continue to go up as the demographics continue to change, and equipment manufacturers are going to see that, hey, the solution that we could have automated years ago, now people are really clamoring for it. The price of our components has come down, the cost of putting it together has come down. So we're going to see more automation, not less. And we're going to see higher wages. You will still need people. Those people will be incredibly highly compensated compared to even 2026's standards, I believe, just due to the scarcity of people who want to work and who have that knowledge base to be able to move your business forward. It's a demographics problem, not a work ethic problem, in my estimation. In my opinion, as an overview, this is what we're going to see. Companies in the stone industry are going to be forced to do more with less, but AI and the increasing adoption of automation will make this possible. New ownership is going to attack old problems with new ways of thinking, and the way we've always done it will become cost prohibitive. Private equity firms and entrepreneurship through acquisition operators new to the industry are going to bring new ways of thinking and will be both shockingly innovative and incompetent all at the same time. Remember, these people know business, they don't necessarily know the stone industry. So there's going to be a learning curve there. Tooling and equipment costs are going to be higher since we're going to be less reliant on cheap labor from China or countries within its sphere of influence, but this will at least be partially offset by increased automation and increased AI adoption. There you have it. There are my hot takes for what the stone industry is going to look like in 2036. Subscribe to this channel so you can come back in 10 years and tell me exactly how wrong I was. Maybe I got some of it right. I probably didn't get it all right. So thank you for watching. Hope this has been helpful, useful, something to think about. I appreciate it. Take a second to subscribe to my channel if you've enjoyed this, and I'll catch you next time.